Hello, hi. My name is Anand Chandak, and I work as the product manager for Oracle NoSQL Database group here at Oracle. And I welcome you to this webinar on Oracle NoSQL Database setup and run Oracle NoSQL cluster in less than 30 minutes. So let's look at the program agenda today. So I'll start by giving a brief introduction about what Oracle NoSQL Database is all about, and then we'll do a hands-on lab. So in this hands-on lab, we'll set up a nine-node NoSQL cluster, and you'll see how easy and simple it is to do that. So let's get started with what really is Oracle NoSQL Database. So Oracle NoSQL Database is simple, fast, reliable, and flexible data management solution. So it is simple. You can really set up a 9-node NoSQL cluster in less than 30 minutes. It's fast. We have tested Oracle NoSQL Database with 1.25 million operations per second internally. It is flexible. It provides variety of data modeling options. So you can either model it as a raw key value pair, a table format, as well as there's an option to model as a JSON data type. So depending on the type of the application that you're trying to build, you can pick the model which is most suited for your app. And of course, it is extremely reliable. So before we actually do the lab, let's just spend some time understanding some of the key concept in Oracle NoSQL Database. So what you see on your screen is the full key space or the set of keys that you want to model in NoSQL Database is hashed into multiple hash buckets or a fixed set of partitions, what we call as partitions. Now, the Oracle NoSQL drivers are aware about this hash function. So given a key, it will return the partition ID. Now, the set of partitions are grouped together and what we call as a shard, which is really a logical container for subset of the data. And all of this is managed by Oracle NoSQL Database. The distribution of partitions in a shard is even. So for example, if you have 3 shards and 30 partitions, each shard gets 10 partitions. Inside the shard, there are one or more replication nodes or RN. These are really the Java multi-threaded server process. For high availability and read scalability reasons, we recommend having 3 such RNs inside a shard. The replication node are actually deployed on storage node, which is really a physical or virtual machine. You can think of storage node as a single unit of failure. So now with this as an introduction, let's look at the overview of the hands-on lab. So in this hands-on lab, we want to focus on how one can go about downloading and installing Oracle NoSQL Database, and then what does it take to really deploy a NoSQL cluster. So download and install. So it's pretty straightforward. Visit our OTN page, Oracle Technology Network page. On the download tab, you'll see the links to download different editions of Oracle NoSQL Database. You'll also find links to download the drivers. We support multiple drivers: Java, Python, Node.js, and so on and so forth. So depending on the track that you've chosen, so if you're really testing and evaluating Oracle NoSQL Database, we recommend you can set up a single node NoSQL, and it can be really done in in less than 5 minutes. Or if you are doing production or performance kind of thing, we recommend setting up a multi-node NoSQL cluster or a 3x3 store, and that can be done in less than 30 minutes. So let's look at the lab. So in today's lab, what we really want to do is we want to set up a data center. We call it the Houston Data Center. And that we want to set up a 3x3 NoSQL cluster, 3 shards, each having 3 copies of the data. So you can see there are 3 shards: shard 1, shard 2, shard 3. And inside the shard, there are 3 nodes. There is one node which is selected as a master node, and the other nodes are what we call as the replica nodes. So before we actually do the hands-on lab, let's just understand the cluster deployment step. So at high level, these are steps what you really need to do to set up and deploy a NoSQL cluster. The first step is to bootstrap the storage node that will be used in a NoSQL deployment. So this step creates a config file in the KV root folder. The second step is to really start the storage node agent, which works as a listener. You have to really perform both these steps on each of the storage node that will be used on the deployment of NoSQL database. Having done that, the final step is to really run the set of admin commands. So the commands are, first we create a store, or we name the store. Then we create a data center. Then we assign the storage node that we bootstrap to a data center. And finally deploy the NoSQL cluster. So this is all it takes to really deploy the NoSQL cluster. So before we actually start doing a cluster deployment, let's look at a utility that we provide which can assist in the deployment. So it's called as a make boot config command. So make boot config command is a utility that we ship and which can assist with the deployment. So let's look at some of the parameters. The root is where the KV root is pointing to. The capacity is how many number of disk that you have for the storage node. The HA range port, memory, what is the kind of memory that you want to allocate for the replication node. So if you don't provide anything, the system automatically takes 80% of that. The host name and the storage node. So let's look at the hands-on lab now. So I have a virtual machine, and what I'm going to do here is I'll quickly jump to the folder where I have written some script which can be used for today's deployment. So I am at this folder called UO1 NoSQL scripts, and like I said, I have some scripts written which we can use for this hands-on lab. So if you remember correctly, the first step was to really run the make boot command. So let's open the make boot config. So mind you, I am simulating the situation. I am running this lab in my virtual machine. So we are really simulating a situation of 3 storage nodes, each having a capacity of 3. So this is all done in a single virtual machine. In the production environment, you can do it in a single storage node. So the first step is to really point to the data folders on each storage node. So I've created 3 storage nodes: SN1, SN2, SN3. And if you look at the make boot config, the root is inside each of the storage node. We don't want to set up the security, so it's set to none. The capacity is 3. We are simulating a situation where each storage node has 3 direct attached disks. The HA range port, and then the memory, we are allocating 200 MB for each storage node. The KV host is I've created multiple hosts and in my etc host file, and they're all pointing to the single machine. The storage node directory for each of the storage node, I'm calling it as a UO1, UO2, and UO3. And likewise, I do it for each of the storage node. So remember, we are setting up a 3x3 store. So we are bootstrapping 3 storage nodes. So let me come out of this command and run the script. Bootstrap storage node. It is done bootstrapping. The next step was to start the storage node agent, or SNA. Let's look at the script for doing that. So as you can see, I am calling the start utility, and I am passing the root of each of the storage node to the KV store start flag. So let's start the SNA. Okay, it returns pretty quickly. And if you recall, the third step was to run those series of admin commands. So in the interest of time, I have scripted those. So I have written those in a file called 3x3 KVS. So let's look at that. So if you recall, the first step was to name the store. We are calling it as a KV store. we are creating a data center. We name it Houston, and we are saying a replication factor of 3, or number of copies that we want to keep as 3. And now we deploy our first storage node in this data center, and we do it, and we set the port as 5000. Likewise, we can do it for each of this storage node. And finally, we create a topology. We call it as 3 by 3. We have created 120 partitions. And before we actually go ahead and deploy this, we do a preview. And as a final step, we deploy this topology. So this is all it takes to set up and deploy NoSQL cluster. So if you notice, there are about 15 or 20 lines of code that can give you high availability replications and all of that. So how simple it can get. So what I'm going to do is I'll run this. Let's see what happens. So this is going to take some time. What I have done is I have opened another terminal and I am entering the admin port, admin prompt. So in this prompt, we can see this topology. So I run the admin shell script. Okay, so we are in the admin prompt, and I would use this command called show topology. It can show me the status of the deployment. So it is still doing. So as you can see on the left of the screen, what we are asking is 3 shards, 9 RNs, and 120 partitions. So in my introduction, I mentioned we evenly distribute the partitions across the shard. So there are 3 shards and 120 partitions, which mean each shard gets 40 partitions. So let me fire the show topology command again. So if you can see the output, the 3 storage nodes are deployed. It is running the plan to deploy each of the RNs into the shard. So let's give it some more time before the command returns. Once it returns, you should be able to see all the 3 shards, each having the 3 replication nodes and the distribution of the partitions. Let's look at where we are. Let me expand the screen for you. 2 shards are deployed. So we'll give it some more time. Let's see where we are on the topology. All the 3 shards are deployed. As you can see, all the RNs are deployed as well. So now in this command is going to return in any time. As you can see, we also show some, the status of each RN. What is a latency? So this information can be very useful if you are triaging, some issue, on. So just wait for a couple of more seconds, and then we have our NoSQL 3 by 3 NoSQL deployed and running. So now you see the partitions are distributed. So like I said, each shard gets 40 partition, and so the command has returned. It is successfully, all the status of each RN process is running. right? So with that, our NoSQL topology is deployed. So we can come out of this admin prompt. So that concludes this webinar. I hope you found it easy and simple. Thank you.